Admiral Taemin stared at the holographic display in front of him. The numbers made no sense. His long blue fingers tapped against the control panel as he read the data for the third time. The sensors showed a ship approaching the edge of Council space. But this was not just any ship, it was human. "Sir, are you seeing this correctly?" asked his second officer, Lieutenant Commander Vextal. The younger Vorthon's eyes were wide with confusion. "The computer says this vessel is from Earth." Taemin nodded slowly. He had served in the Galactic Council Navy for over 60 years. He had fought in 3 wars and seen the rise and fall of entire civilizations, but he had never expected to see this. "Run the identification codes again," he ordered. The bridge fell silent as the crew worked. Taemin could hear the soft hum of the ship's engines and the quiet beeping of computer systems. Outside the viewscreen, stars twinkled in the darkness of space. Everything seemed normal except for the impossible reading on their sensors. "Admiral," called out the communications officer, "the ship is broadcasting on old Earth frequencies. The vessel identifies itself as the UES Defiance. According to our records, that ship disappeared 298 years ago." Taemin felt a chill run down his spine. Everyone in the galaxy knew the story of humanity's end. Earth had been destroyed in a great war almost 3 centuries ago. The last human colony ships had vanished into deep space, never to be seen again. Most people believed the humans were extinct. "Sir, the ship is requesting permission to enter Council space." The communications officer continued. "They want safe passage to the main Council station." Taemin looked at the tactical display. The human ship was still far away, but their sensors could pick up basic information. The vessel was large, about the size of a battle cruiser. Its hull showed signs of damage and repair. Strange energy readings came from various parts of the ship. "What's their technology level?" Taemin asked his science officer. Dr. Kelmar, an Etherian with pale skin and large eyes, studied his instruments. "The readings are unusual, sir. Their hull is made of old Earth materials. The engine signature matches records from 300 years ago. But there are other energy sources I cannot identify." Taemin frowned. Old human technology was well documented. The Council had studied human ships after Earth's destruction. Human science had been advanced but not extraordinary. They used nuclear fusion for power and chemical rockets for basic propulsion. Nothing that would concern the modern galaxy, Admiral. "We're receiving a direct communication request from the human vessel," the communications officer announced. "Put it through." The main view screen flickered and changed. A human face appeared on the screen. The man looked to be in his 40s with dark hair and tired eyes. He wore a uniform that Taemin recognized from old records as Earth military dress. "This is Captain Do-hyun Kim of the United Earth Ship Defiance," the human said. His voice was calm but carried a weight of exhaustion. "I am requesting safe passage through Council space for myself and my crew." Taemin leaned forward in his command chair. "Captain Kim, I am Admiral Taemin of the Vorthon Defense Fleet. According to our records, your ship has been missing for almost 3 centuries. Where have you been?" Captain Kim's expression darkened. "It's a long story, Admiral. My ship and crew represent the last survivors of humanity. We've been lost in space for a very long time. We only recently found our way back to known space." "The last survivors?" Taemin repeated. "How many people are on your ship?" 12,000 souls, Admiral. Men, women, and children. All that remains of the human race." The bridge fell completely silent. Taemin could feel the shock of his crew. 12,000 humans alive after 3 centuries. It seemed impossible. "Captain, I need to verify your identity and your ship's status," Taemin said carefully. "This is a very serious situation. The Council will need to be informed immediately." "I understand, Admiral. We're prepared to submit to any reasonable inspection. We just want a chance to live in peace." Taemin studied the human's face on the screen. Captain Kim looked sincere, but something felt strange about the whole situation. How had a human ship survived for 3 centuries? Where had they been? And what were those unusual energy readings his science officer had detected? "Captain, I'm going to escort your ship to a secure area near the Council station," Taemin decided. "You'll remain there while the Council decides how to proceed." "Thank you, Admiral. We'll follow your lead." The communication ended and the view screen returned to showing stars. Taemin turned to his crew. "Send an emergency message to Council headquarters," he ordered. "Priority 1. Tell them we have confirmed contact with human survivors. Request immediate instructions." As his crew worked to carry out his orders, Taemin watched the distant human ship on his tactical display. The vessel was moving slowly toward their position. Everything about it seemed normal except for those strange energy readings. Dr. Kelmar approached his chair. "Admiral, I've been studying the sensor data more carefully. There's something very unusual about that ship." "What do you mean?" "The energy patterns don't match anything in our databases. They're using their old fusion reactors, yes, but there are other power sources throughout the ship, sources that shouldn't be possible with their technology level." Taemin felt his concern growing. "Could they have developed new technology?" "Sir, some of these energy signatures are completely unknown to me. They don't follow normal physics patterns." Before Taemin could respond, his communications officer called out again. "Admiral, I'm receiving responses to our message. The Council is in emergency session. They want us to maintain distance from the human ship until further notice." Taemin nodded. That was probably wise. The return of humanity would shake the entire galaxy. Every species had their own history with humans. Some had been allies, others enemies. The political implications were enormous. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "I'm detecting more energy buildup from the human ship. Whatever they're doing over there, it's increasing." Taemin stared at the display. The human ship looked peaceful enough, but Dr. Kelmar was right about those energy readings. They were unlike anything he had ever seen. Captain Do-hyun Kim seemed honest and straightforward. But Taemin had learned not to trust first impressions. After 3 centuries alone in space, what had the humans become? What technology had they developed? And most importantly, what did they really want? As the UES Defiance slowly approached, Taemin prepared his ship for anything. The return of humanity was about to change everything in the galaxy. He just hoped it would be for the better. Captain Do-hyun Kim stood in the observation deck of the UES Defiance, looking out at the massive council station growing larger in the view screen. After 3 centuries of seeing nothing but twisted space and impossible colors, the sight of normal stars and metal structures felt like a miracle. "Captain," called Dr. Nari Park as she entered the room. Her lab coat was wrinkled from hours of work, and her dark hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. "The council representatives are asking more questions about our technology. They want to know how we survived so long." Do-hyun sighed. He had been dreading this conversation. How could he explain what they had been through? How could anyone understand 300 years of hell? "What did you tell them?" he asked. "Only the basics. That we were trapped in a spatial anomaly. But they want details, and our sensor readings are making them nervous." Do-hyun turned away from the view screen. Behind him, he could see other members of his crew working at various stations. They all looked tired. The weight of being humanity's last hope was heavy on everyone. "Call a meeting with the senior staff," he decided. "It's time we prepared our story." An hour later, the ship's conference room was filled with Do-hyun's most trusted officers. Commander Sun-ho Lee sat at the tactical station, his uniform perfectly pressed despite everything they had been through. Dr. Young-sik Han, their chief physicist, had spread out several data tablets on the table. Engineer Bo-ram Choi looked uncomfortable in her dress uniform but had agreed to attend the meeting. "The council wants answers," Do-hyun began. "They want to know where we've been and how we survived. More importantly, they want to know about our technology." "Are we going to tell them the truth?" asked Sun-ho. His hand rested near his weapon, a habit he had developed during their long journey. Do-hyun looked around the table at his people. They had all been through so much together. They deserved to know his decision. "We tell them what they need to know," he said finally. "But we keep some secrets, at least until we know if we can trust them." Dr. Han leaned forward. "Captain, our technology is beyond anything they have. If they learn how far we've advanced, they might see us as a threat. Or they might want to dissect us to learn our secrets," added Bo-ram darkly. Do-hyun nodded. He had thought about this problem for months as they prepared to return to normal space. The humans of the Defiance were no longer the same species that had left Earth centuries ago. Their time in the void had changed them in ways that went beyond simple technology. "Nari, give me the short version of what happened to us," Do-hyun said. Dr. Park activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed a representation of normal space, then shifted to show the twisted reality they had been trapped in. 300 years ago, our hyperdrive malfunctioned just as Earth was being destroyed," she began. "Instead of jumping to our planned destination, we fell into a collapsing dimensional fold. We were stuck there for almost 3 centuries. The hologram showed the Defiance trapped in a bubble of twisted spacetime. Around it, impossible geometries shifted and changed. Normal physics didn't work there, Nari continued. Time moved differently. Space had more than 3 dimensions. Our fusion reactors should have run out of fuel in 20 years, but somehow they kept working. Sun Ho frowned. The whole thing still doesn't make sense to me. That's because you're thinking like someone from normal space, Dr. Han interrupted. In the void, we learned that reality is much more flexible than we thought. We had to adapt or die. Du Hyun remembered those early years. Thousands of people had died from the stress of living in impossible space. The survivors had been forced to find new ways of thinking, new ways of understanding the universe. Show them the breakthrough, Du Hyun ordered. Nari changed the hologram. Now it showed human scientists working with strange devices that seemed to bend light around them. After 50 years, we learned to manipulate the fundamental forces directly, Nari explained. We discovered that reality responds to conscious thought when you understand how to apply the right kind of energy. You mean we learned to change the laws of physics? Sun Ho asked. In small ways, yes. We learned to make gravity work differently. We learned to phase matter in and out of normal space. We learned to manipulate time flow in limited areas. Boram activated her own display, showing the modified systems throughout the Defiance. Every major system on this ship uses the new physics, she said. Our reactors don't just create energy anymore. They manipulate the energy that already exists in space-time itself. Our engines don't push us through space. They convince space to move around us. Du Hyun watched his officers' faces as they discussed their capabilities. Even after all these years, it still seemed like magic to him. But it was real, and it was the reason they had survived. Captain, Dr. Han said quietly, there's something else we need to discuss. The medical scans Nari has been running. Du Hyun felt his stomach tighten. He had been avoiding this topic. Go ahead, he said. Nari activated another display, this one showing human brain scans and genetic analysis. Our exposure to the void has changed us, she said simply, not just mentally, but physically. Our brains have developed new structures. Our DNA has been modified at the quantum level. We're still human, but we're also something more. More how? Sun Ho asked. We can interface directly with our technology now. We can sense energy patterns that normal humans can't detect. Some of us can even manipulate small amounts of matter without using machines. Du Hyun had discovered his own abilities years ago. He could feel the ship around him like an extension of his own body. He could sense the emotions of his crew and even predict their needs before they spoke. The children born in the void are even more advanced, Nari continued. They understand the new physics instinctively. To them, bending reality is as natural as breathing. The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking about the implications. So what do we tell the council? Sun Ho asked finally. Du Hyun stood up and walked to the viewport. Outside, he could see council ships maintaining a careful distance from the Defiance. They were afraid, and they had good reason to be. We tell them we're the last survivors of humanity, he said. We tell them we want a place to live in peace. We tell them about our basic technology, but we keep the advanced capabilities secret until we know more about the current political situation. And if they demand more information? Boram asked. Du Hyun turned back to his people. These were not the same humans who had left Earth centuries ago. They had been forged in impossible fire and had emerged as something new, something powerful. Then we show them just enough to make them think twice about threatening us, he said. But we hope it doesn't come to that. A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Sun Ho checked his console. Captain, the council is sending a diplomatic team to meet with us. They'll be here in 6 hours. Du Hyun nodded. It was time to find out if humanity's children could find a place in the galaxy. Their ancestors had been forced to leave behind. The council meeting chamber was filled with representatives from dozens of different species. Ambassador So Young-yoon sat at the human delegation table, trying to stay calm as alien voices argued around her. 3 days of talks had gotten nowhere. The humans cannot be trusted, declared War Commander Zethkol of the Krill Empire. His red scales gleamed under the chamber lights as he stood to address the assembly. Their technology readings are impossible. They must be hiding something dangerous. Counselor Veltar of the Etherian Collective raised a pale hand. We should study their ship carefully before making any decisions. Scientific knowledge belongs to all civilizations. And if they refuse to share their secrets? Asked Trade Minister Kexnon of the Nexus Federation. Do we simply let them go free? So Young stood up slowly. She had been a diplomat for 15 years aboard the Defiance, helping to resolve conflicts among the human survivors. But dealing with aliens was proving much more difficult. "Honored counselors," she began, "my people have come here seeking only peace. We've been through centuries of hardship. All we want is a small world where we can rebuild our civilization, with technology that makes our best ships look like toys." Seth Cole growled. "Do you think we're fools? We've seen your sensor readings, so..." Young felt her patience wearing thin. The krill had been the most aggressive species in these talks. They seemed to view everything as a potential threat to their military dominance. "Our technology was developed out of necessity," she replied. "We had to adapt to survive in conditions that would have killed anyone else." "Then you won't mind sharing those adaptations," Veltar said smoothly. "For the benefit of all galactic civilization." Before So Young could respond, her communication device buzzed with an urgent message from the Defiance. She read it quickly and felt her blood turn cold. "Counselors," she said, her voice tight with control, "I'm receiving reports that krill warships are moving toward my vessel." Zethkul's eyes narrowed. "Standard security procedures. We're simply positioning our forces to better protect the station. By surrounding our ship with battle cruisers." So Young's voice rose despite her training. The chamber erupted in voices as different species took sides. Some supported the krill action, others condemned it. Through the noise, So Young heard her communication device buzzing with more urgent messages. On the Defiance, Captain Do-hyun Kim stood on his bridge watching the tactical display. 12 krill warships had formed a circle around his vessel. Their weapons were not yet powered, but the threat was clear. "Captain," reported Commander Sun-Ho Lee from the tactical station. "The krill ships are hailing us. They're demanding permission to board and inspect our technology." Do-hyun's jaw tightened. He had hoped to avoid this confrontation, but the krill had forced his hand. "What's our current crew status?" he asked. "All non-essential personnel are in secure areas," Sun-Ho replied. "Dr. Yoonji Lim has the new systems ready if needed." Dr. Lim looked up from her engineering console. She was one of the younger crew members, born in the void and completely comfortable with their advanced technology. "All quantum field generators are online, Captain. We can phase the ship at your command." Do-hyun looked around his bridge. His crew had served faithfully for decades. They had survived impossible odds and developed capabilities that made them more than human. But they were still only 12,000 people against an entire galaxy. "Open a channel to the council station," he ordered. The main view screen showed the emergency session of the council. So Young was still at the podium, trying to maintain diplomatic calm. "Counselors," Do-hyun's voice cut through the arguing voices. "This is Captain Kim of the Defiance. I understand there are concerns about my ship's technology. Perhaps a demonstration would help clarify the situation." Zethkul stepped forward. "Captain, my ships are prepared to conduct a full inspection of your vessel. You will lower your shields and allow boarding parties immediately." "I'm afraid that won't be possible," Do-hyun replied calmly, "but I can show you why." On the tactical display, the krill warships began powering their weapons. Do-hyun could see energy buildups throughout their fleet. They were preparing to force the issue. "Dr. Lim," he said quietly, "activate phase variants. Minimum disruption." "Yes, sir." The Defiance began to glow with a soft blue light. On every ship in the area, sensors started giving impossible readings. The human vessel was still visible, still on their screens, but their targeting systems could not lock onto it. "What are they doing?" Zethkul demanded. "Phase variants," Do-hyun explained. "We're shifting our ship slightly out of normal spacetime. Your weapons cannot affect us while we're in this state." To prove his point, one of the krill commanders opened fire. Bright energy beams lanced out toward the Defiance but passed harmlessly through the ship as if it wasn't there. The council chamber fell completely. "Silent, impossible," whispered Veltar. Do-hyun wasn't finished. "Dr. Lim, give me a localized gravity manipulation. Something impressive but harmless." "Understood, Captain." Around the krill fleet, space itself began to bend. The warships found themselves caught in artificial gravity wells that held them in place, but caused no damage. Their engines strained against forces that shouldn't exist, but they could not break free. "How are you doing this?" Zethkul's voice had lost its aggressive tone. "We learned to work with the fundamental forces of reality," Do-hyun answered. "In the void where we were trapped, normal physics didn't apply. We had to develop new ways of understanding the universe." Dr. Lim looked up from her console. "Captain, I'm detecting massive energy buildups from their fleet. They're trying to overload their engines to break free. Release them, Do-hyun ordered. We've made our point. The gravity wells disappeared instantly. The Krill ships found themselves free but completely outclassed. Their most advanced weapons had been useless against human technology. In the council chamber, representatives from dozens of species stared at the display screens showing the encounter. The humans had demonstrated capabilities that went beyond anything they had imagined possible. Captain Kim, Veltar said, his voice filled with scientific curiosity, your people have clearly achieved remarkable advances. Would you be willing to share this knowledge? Some of it, Do-hyun replied carefully. But much of our technology requires mental modifications that most species would find uncomfortable. Our children who were born in the void think differently than baseline humans. They see reality in ways that others cannot understand. Mental modifications? As Trade Minister Kexnon Dr. Nari Park stepped forward on the Defiance Bridge. Our exposure to impossible space changed us at the genetic level. We developed new brain structures that allow us to interface directly with quantum fields. To us, manipulating matter and energy is as natural as moving our hands. Zethkol found his voice again. Are you saying you're no longer human? Do-hyun considered the question carefully. It was something he had wondered about for decades. We're still human, he said finally. But we're also something more. Evolution doesn't stop just because we leave our home planet. And what do you want from us? Asked Veltar. A place to live in peace, and So Young answered from the council floor. We're not conquerors or invaders. We're survivors who want to rebuild our civilization. All we ask is for a world where we can live according to our own customs. And if we refuse? Zethkol asked. Do-hyun looked directly at the war commander through the screen. Then we'll find somewhere else to go. The galaxy is vast, and we've learned to travel in ways you haven't discovered yet. The implication was clear. The humans could not be forced or contained. They had developed beyond the reach of normal civilization. The only question was whether the galaxy would accept them as neighbors or drive them away to become something even more alien. In the council chamber, representatives began talking in hushed voices. The return of humanity had just become much more complicated. News of humanity's demonstration spread across the galaxy faster than light. Within days, every major civilization knew that the humans had returned with impossible technology. The reaction was exactly what Captain Do-hyun Kim had feared. He stood in his ready room aboard the Defiance, reading intelligence reports from across known space. 12 different species had formed a military alliance called the Galactic Security Coalition. Their stated goal was to contain the human threat before it could spread. Captain, called Commander Sun Ho Lee as he entered the room, we're receiving communication requests from the Coalition fleet. They've assembled over 300 warships. Do-hyun looked up from his datapad. 300 ships? They're not taking any chances. Sir, our long-range sensors show ships from the Krill Empire, the Nexus Federation, and even the normally peaceful Talon Republic. They're all working together. Do-hyun walked to his viewport and looked out at the stars. In the distance, he could see the lights of Council Station. 3 days ago, he had hoped to find a peaceful solution to humanity's situation. Now it looked like they might be facing another war. What about our supporters? He asked. The Etherian Collective is still neutral, but they're asking for full access to our technology in exchange for protection. Admiral Tae-min and the Vorthon Defense Fleet have offered to help, but there are only one species against 12. A soft chime indicated another message. This time it was from Dr. Nari Park in the ship's main laboratory. Captain, you need to see this. Her voice came through the communication system. We've detected something troubling in our medical scans. Do-hyun made his way to the laboratory level. The corridors of the Defiance showed the wear of 3 centuries in space, but they also showed signs of the modifications his people had made. Strange energy conduits ran along the walls, and some sections seemed to glow with their own inner light. He found Nari studying holographic displays of human brain scans. Next to her stood Dr. Kyung-ho Baek, the ship's psychologist. What's the problem? Do-hyun asked. Nari pointed to the brain scans. The changes in our people are accelerating. The quantum structures in our brains are growing more complex every day. Is that dangerous? Dr. Baek stepped forward. Not dangerous exactly, but we're becoming less human and more something else. The children born in the void are already so different that they have trouble relating to baseline humans. Do-hyun thought about his own experiences. Lately, he had been sensing things that should have been impossible. He could feel the emotions of his crew from across the ship. Sometimes he knew what people were going to say before they spoke. "How different are we talking about?" he asked. Nari activated another display. "The youngest generation can manipulate matter without using technology. They think in mathematical concepts that don't translate into normal language. Some of them claim they can see other dimensions." "Captain," Dr. Bayek added, "I'm concerned about what this means for our future. If we keep changing at this rate, in another generation we might not be recognizably human at all." Before Do-hyun could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the ship. He activated his communication device. "Bridge report. Captain, this is Sun-ho. The Coalition fleet is moving into attack formation. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Do-hyun ran to the nearest transport tube. Within minutes he was back on the bridge where his crew was preparing for battle. "What are they saying?" he asked. Sun-ho activated the main communication channel. The voice of War Commander Zethkol filled the bridge. "Human vessel, you have 30 minutes to power down your ship and prepare for boarding. Your technology represents a threat to galactic security. You will be taken into custody for the safety of all civilizations." Do-hyun looked at his tactical display. 300 ships surrounded them in a perfect sphere. Even with their advanced technology, fighting that many vessels would be difficult. "Open a channel," he ordered. "This is Captain Kim. War Commander. My people have done nothing hostile toward any civilization. We came here seeking peace. Your very existence is hostile," Zethkol replied. "You have the power to destroy entire fleets with ease. No single species should possess such capabilities. And what gives you the right to decide that?" Do-hyun's voice hardened. "The right of survival. If you refuse to surrender your technology, we will take it by force." The communication ended. Do-hyun looked around his bridge at the crew members who had become his family over the centuries. They were waiting for his orders. "Captain," called out Dr. Yenji Lim from the engineering station, "I'm detecting weapons charging throughout the Coalition fleet. They're preparing to fire." "Sir," added Captain Ji Woo-shin, the leader of their fighter wing, "my pilots are ready to launch. We can phase our fighters in and out of normal space. Their point defense systems won't be able to track us." Do-hyun considered his options. The Coalition clearly had no intention of allowing humanity to exist peacefully. They saw the humans as a threat that needed to be eliminated or controlled. "How many people could we save if we ran?" he asked. "All of them," Sun-ho replied. "Our jump capabilities are beyond anything they have. We could disappear into deep space and they'd never find us. And then what? We spend another 3 centuries hiding from the galaxy?" Nari's voice came over the communication system from her laboratory. "Captain, there's another option. We could show them exactly what they're dealing with." "Meaning?" "A full demonstration of our capabilities. Not just phasing and gravity manipulation. Everything." Do-hyun felt a chill run down his spine. He knew what Nari was suggesting. The humans had developed weapons that could rewrite the laws of physics in localized areas. They could create black holes, reverse time flow, or even erase matter from existence. "That might kill thousands of people," he said. "Or it might convince them to leave us alone," Sun-ho added. The tactical display showed energy spikes throughout the Coalition fleet. They were almost ready to attack. "Captain," called out Chief Engineer In-soo Park from the engine room, "if we're going to act, it needs to be now. They'll open fire in less than 2 minutes." Do-hyun looked at his crew one more time. These people had trusted him to lead them for decades. They had survived impossible odds and developed into something beyond normal human capabilities. But with great power came great responsibility. "Dr. Lim," he said quietly, "prepare a localized time dilation field around the Coalition fleet. Nothing harmful, just enough to slow them down." "Yes, sir." "And open a channel to the entire fleet." When the communication was established, Do-hyun spoke to his enemies with calm authority. "Coalition forces, you have declared war on humanity without provocation. We did not ask for the power we developed, but we will not allow you to destroy us because of your fear." Around the Coalition fleet, space began to shimmer. The 300 warships found themselves moving in slow motion, their weapons charging at a fraction of normal speed. "We could destroy your entire fleet right now," Do-hyun continued. "We could trap you in time loops, send you into other dimensions, or simply erase you from existence. But we choose not to, because we still remember what it means to be civilized." The effect lasted only a few seconds, but it was enough to prove the point. When normal time resumed, The Coalition fleet found themselves completely helpless against technology they could not understand or counter. "This is what you're really afraid of," Do-hyun said. "Not that we'll conquer you, but that we've grown beyond your ability to control us." "Well, you're right. We have," the response came quickly. One by one, ships began breaking away from the Coalition fleet. Some species had seen enough and were withdrawing from the conflict. Others remained, but their aggressive posture had changed to one of wary respect. Do-hyun knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had revealed their true capabilities, and the galaxy would never see them the same way again. The question now was whether they could find a way to coexist with species that would always fear their power. The ancient chamber deep within Council Station had not been opened for over 500 years. Elder Morden moved slowly through the corridors, his aged form supported by gravity manipulation technology. Behind him followed Captain Do-hyun Kim, Ambassador So-young-yoon, and Admiral Tae-min. "What I'm about to show you," Morden said in his whispering voice, "was hidden from galactic civilization for good reason. But recent events have made secrecy impossible." The Elder was older than any other being in known space. His species, the Vorthak, lived for thousands of years and kept the deepest secrets of galactic history. Do-hyun had never seen one of them before, and the alien's appearance was unsettling. Morden looked like a walking skeleton covered in pale, translucent skin. They reached a massive door covered in symbols that hurt to look at directly. Morden placed his hand on a scanner, and the door slowly opened with a sound like grinding stone. Inside was a circular chamber filled with holographic displays and ancient data storage devices. The technology was unlike anything Do-hyun had seen, even after centuries of working with impossible physics. "This is the Archive of Prophecies," Morden explained. "Every major galactic civilization has contributed to it over the past 10,000 years. The most important prophecy concerns your species, Captain Kim." The Elder activated one of the displays. Symbols appeared in the air, shifting and changing into recognizable images. Do-hyun saw representations of human ships, human cities, and human technology. "This prophecy was recorded 8,000 years ago," Morden continued, "long before humans had developed space travel. It speaks of a species that would bend the galaxy to their will and remake the laws of reality according to their desires." Admiral Tae-min leaned forward to study the display. "Are you saying this prophecy refers to humanity?" "The descriptions are very specific," Morden replied. "A species from a blue world orbiting a yellow star. A people who would be scattered across the void, but would return with power beyond imagination." Do-hyun felt a chill as he recognized details from Earth's description. "You knew about us before we achieved spaceflight?" "The galaxy has known about humanity for millennia, Captain. The question was always what to do about you." So-young stepped closer to the display. "What does the prophecy say we would do with this power?" Morden's expression grew even more serious. "That depends on which version of the prophecy you read. Some say humans would become benevolent guardians of galactic civilization. Others predict you would become destroyers who would remake the universe according to your own vision." "And which version did the Galactic Council believe?" Do-hyun asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. "The darkest one," Morden admitted. 3 centuries ago, when human civilization reached the space age, the Council made a decision. Rather than wait to see which prophecy would come true, they chose to prevent all of them. Do-hyun's hands clenched into fists. "The Great Solar War, Earth's destruction. That wasn't a random conflict." "No," Morden confirmed. "It was a carefully planned extermination. 12 species worked together to destroy human civilization before you could develop the capabilities the prophecy described." The chamber fell silent, except for the soft humming of ancient machines. Do-hyun felt rage building inside him, but also a terrible understanding. The aliens hadn't attacked humanity out of hatred or greed. They had been afraid. "So when we disappeared," So-young said slowly, "they thought they had succeeded. For 3 centuries, the galaxy believed the human threat had been eliminated." Morden agreed. "Your return has terrified them because it means the prophecy was only delayed, not prevented." Admiral Tae-min spoke up. "Elder, why are you telling us this now? Why break the secrecy?" Morden activated another display, this one showing current star charts. Red indicators marked the positions of various fleets throughout the galaxy. "Because the galaxy is preparing for another extermination attempt," he said. The Coalition fleet was just the beginning. Even now, the major powers are building weapons specifically designed to counter human technology. Do-hyun studied the display. The numbers were staggering. Over 2,000 ships were being assembled across known space. Weapons that could destroy entire star systems were being constructed. They're planning to finish what they started 3 centuries ago, he realized. Yes, Morden confirmed. Unless something changes dramatically, you and your people will face a war unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. Why are you warning us? So Young asked. Your people were part of the original conspiracy. The elder's ancient eyes looked sad. Because I have lived long enough to see the cost of fear. The destruction of Earth was a tragedy that has haunted the galaxy for 3 centuries. I will not allow it to happen again. Morden activated one final display. This one showed detailed technical data about human capabilities, but also information about their children born in the void. There is something else you need to know, he said. Your youngest generation, those born in impossible space, represent something entirely new in galactic history. They are beyond human, beyond any species we have encountered. Do-hyun thought about the children aboard the Defiance. Some of them could manipulate matter with their thoughts alone. Others claimed they could see across dimensions or predict future events. What are they becoming? He asked. According to our analysis, they are evolving into beings of pure consciousness that can interact directly with the fundamental forces of reality. In a few generations, they may be able to create or destroy matter at will, travel through time, or even reshape entire star systems. The implications were staggering. Do-hyun had known his people were changing, but he hadn't realized how far the evolution would go. The prophecy was right, he said quietly. We are becoming something that could remake the galaxy. The question, Morden said, is what you will choose to do with that power. Before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Admiral Taman activated his communication device. Admiral, came the voice of his bridge officer. We're detecting massive fleet movements throughout the galaxy. It looks like the major powers are mobilizing for war. Through the chamber's speakers, they could hear reports from across known space. The Krill Empire was moving its entire fleet toward human space. The Nexus Federation was activating its heaviest battle stations. Even peaceful species were preparing their militaries. It's beginning, Morden said sadly. The second war against humanity. Do-hyun looked at his companions. Admiral Taemin was a good alien who had tried to help them, but he represented only one species. So Young was brave and intelligent, but she was still thinking like a diplomat when war was already decided. Elder, Do-hyun said, is there any way to prevent this war? Morden considered the question carefully. Only one that I can see. You would have to demonstrate power so overwhelming that the galaxy would be too afraid to attack you, but that might fulfill the darkest parts of the prophecy. Or, Do-hyun said, an idea forming in his mind. We could offer them something they want more than our destruction. What could you possibly offer that would outweigh their fear? Admiral Taemin asked. Do-hyun looked at the displays showing the assembled fleets. Over 2,000 ships representing dozens of species, all united in their determination to destroy humanity. But fear was not the only powerful emotion in the galaxy. Protection, he said simply. Not from us, but from something worse. The others looked at him in confusion. Do-hyun activated his own communication device and contacted the Defiance. Dr. Park, I need you to run a deep space scan with our enhanced sensors. Look for anything unusual beyond the galactic rim. Within minutes, Nari's voice came back with a report that changed everything. Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures from dark space. Something is moving toward the galaxy from intergalactic void. The readings are impossible to classify. Do-hyun smiled grimly. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not the greatest threat they faced.